Superman, issue 12, legacy number 855. Joshua Williamson writing with David Baldeon on the art. So, Lex is out in the suit. Superman's being a scientist. They basically switch roles. You know, Lex is the one flying around doing stuff, and Superman's the one playing scientist because the kryptonite mist that's outside will just kill him. So even
and I like that Clark puts on a coat.
He does,
right,
yes.
to be a scientist.
He does. It's a red and blue coat as well, just to really
drive that home.
Sell the branding. So yeah, a big chunk of this issue though is actually the flashback to like, okay, what happened between Lex and Farman Graft, and you know, this inherently is going to drag things down a little bit for me because like, if you want to tell me the backstory is that because part of what this is that Farman Graft were working on kryptonite in the same way that Lex was, is this mysterious new rock that came from space, right? And Lex was it was like a rival of theirs, and they say they were all scientists, they were rivals, but then they decided to work together, and then when Lex actually got what he needed, he screwed them over, took all the kryptonite, and shut them out. If you did that and said that was the backstory, I'd be like, that's fine. But no, they're saying Lex was in a purple and green outfit, and he was a hero.
I still hate that. I hate that he comes to Metropolis, because in the pages before where he's yelling at Clark in the cornfield, he's not seeming like he wants to be a hero, you know?
Yeah,
like there's it makes no sense. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the biggest city in you know, the DC universe and be a hero with this, you know, green and blue suit. I still don't understand why Williamson thought that was a good idea.
Green and blue?
Because like you said,
purple, you mean?
Like purple. Sorry, I was looking at the Superman's coat. If it was like you had said that he had gone there and he was working with these guys because they had developed a new way to work on the kryptonite, and he was like, oh, that's genius, I'm gonna take it. That's Lex.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
But all of this here, with all of that,
I don't want to look, because we harped on this a lot when they first did these flashbacks where he was in this, you know, outfit and he was trying to be a hero before Superman existed. It makes Superman's like existence less special if people were already like the idea that Lex only even has a color scheme and tries making outfits because he's basically trying to measure his dick against Superman and he can't let it go that Superman might be better than him. That's what makes Lex Lex. I think if he's already wearing purple and green and trying to be grandiose in how he's doing things, it feels like Superman had not that much impact on him because he was already like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like this. Which then makes his rivalry
with Superman feel less special.
Yeah.
Because the idea that Superman comes in, and I still love the idea that Lex could have been a good man, but his envy and his jealousy got the better of him, and now he's all about thwarting Superman out of spite. I like that thing, and when you take that away and you make it like they do here, it kind of tones down that rivalry.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it feels like, and this is the thing, we'll be talking about this a bit more in World's Finest, because that has like a flashback story to Lex, and is much better handled, I think, as far as his characteristics go. But just Lex is an idea, much like Joker, funnily enough, is that some of what Lex is only because the existence of the hero that he's tied to. Right? Some of who Lex is because Superman exists. He's more envious, he's more petty, he's more, like, basically emasculated. Like, that's how he feels. Like, you know, if you want to just boil it down to some level of toxic masculinity, that's kind of what it is. He can't just live with the fact that someone else is more impressive and sees his entire existence as a threat to him, which also ties into the ideas of xenophobia and all these things that Lex kind of embodies as a character. If you
the idea that he calls Superman the alien in other stories, he won't even dignify him as his own person.
If you read Superman Birthright, such a big part of that is Lex trying to just ruin Superman's image to the public before it's even had a chance to like grow into anything. You know, he tries to paint him in this light, and a big part of the plot of that story is that Superman kind of fights through it, and like the world see him as a hero, but Lex was really trying to paint him as this foreign invader the entire time, which sounds a lot like politicians talking about immigrants or anything else like that. But no, this is a Joshua Williamson book, so he just wears purple and green and some goggles and wants to be a hero.
he's really leaning into the mad scientist aspect, which in a vacuum I like, but in the idea of this being an origin for Lex, I just don't. So
I'm cool with him being a mad scientist, but have him wear a lab coat. You know, be a mad scientist.
That's what I mean. I don't want him to be a mad scientist supervillain from the start, or superhero for that matter. You know, because again, why does he think it's a good idea to throw the suit on? We don't have any connection why he thought this was a good idea.
He's got
him coming to Metropolis. You know what I mean? To do all this.
In this flashback, he's got like a big sort of like robotic power glove thing.
Yeah.
And all I can think is, why did he even build that? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know they're saying here he wanted to be a hero, but like, again, this idea that the reason why someone like Lex starts building ridiculous body armor is because superheroes start to exist. Mainly Superman, but even just in general. Oh, there's people.
Escalation.
It's escalation. Yes, if you start, wearing armor, they'll get armor-piercing rounds. You know, to quote the end of Batman Begins.
And he wears war paint. He's a calling card. Lex just started with the calling card,
Yeah. So much like Joker, he's partially kind of influenced by it's the idea that the theatricality of Batman inspired Joker to be like, oh, I could be more grandiose. There's fun to be had here. But if you have Joker existing before Batman, it just feels like, well, Batman didn't cause anything then. So,
if you have him, that he also learned from the guy that taught.
Batman I
to use his mind as a weapon. It now means less.
Damn it, Zarsky! What have you done? What have you done? You will answer for your crimes, Zarsky. You will answer for your crimes.
So on the positives on this, I do love that we get like older threads from the beginning of the arc. Like part of what Clark does here is using Supercorp. He's like, hey, I'm going to use all these resources, and he's going to have everybody working as a team to take down this threat. And as part of that team, he brings in Parasite, right? And ends up with what's he end up doing here? He ends up hitting him with the kryptonite, right?
Yeah. Basically, they need a power source to drain all the kryptonite or whatever out of the
right. And so they hit Parasite with it, which turns him almost into it allows him to pull it towards him. So now they're able to calm down the mist enough for Superman to get back out there.
Yeah.
So.
Also, I just want to mention that there's a second artist on this, Norm Rapmond, who I'm assuming the flashback art was the second artist. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then what's funny, because Norm Rapmond's typically an inker for Dan Jurgens.
Oh, interesting.
So the flashback art definitely is different.
Yeah. Basically, Lena eventually is asking like the Lex, hologram, like, hey, can you shut down my mom's armor? Because that's the other thing that I'd actually forgotten since last issue. I was like, oh yeah, the villain's Lexi's mom.
Right.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so she wants Grandma's armor to shut down.
Yeah, but the computer's like, yeah, but it'll also shut down Lexi's, and she's like, do it. Of course, it doesn't actually tell you that she's, obviously the next page is Superman. He can now fly out there and grab both of them before they fall to their death. But it did make, just for a split second, it made it look like Lena was going evil. Like that, the look in her eyes when she says "do it" is like, oh wait, she wants to kill her dad. She wants to let him drop.
She's got an edge to her. This Lena.
Yeah. So do you think she knew Superman was going to catch him, or do you think she was actually trying to kill him?
No, she knew that Superman was going to catch him because Superman's off talking with Lois. And it looks like he's getting that armor that he's wearing off.
Yeah.
So I feel like she knew. Also, we didn't talk about the armor that Lex is out there in is his pre-New 52 when he became a Superman. Which I thought that was a fun callback.
Oh, you mean pre-rebirth? It's not pre-New 52.
Sorry.
It was during New 52.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Was pre-rebirth during the New 52. Lex ends up becoming a hero.
when he was in the Justice League and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I thought that was a fun callback, which they don't go out of their way to mention that, but just as a longtime reader, the fact that that's his new super suit right now, it's not the purple and green, Lex Tech armor. But and then we get some resolution with the Revenge Squad. Looks like they put the chain back in his prison, which might not be a great idea. right? Because
Yeah.
now we know where he's at, and he's overcame that before.
The main thing here, though, is that they're not in the same prison as Lex, because that seemed like a
Right.
bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Superman's like, okay, we've dealt with all this, right? Is there anything else? Like, I admit the resources of Supercorp were very useful, but is there anything else? Any secrets you need to tell me? And Lex angrily says no. And Superman, says to Lois later, well, his heartbeat didn't rise, so it seems like he's telling the truth. But I feel like Lex has probably just forgotten about half the things that might come back and bite him in the future.
He's done a ton of terrible things to a lot of terrible people. So yes, I don't. Whatever happens next, I don't think will be because of Lex, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we're starting the big Brainiac arc next month between Action and Superman. I think Action is first out of the two. But I think that's just a schedule thing. Action just happens to be next up.
But I do like that they also mentioned that so far I like what Williamson's done with Superman, where he's having the supporting cast tell Clark it's okay for you to not have to do everything. So like through this, it was him talking up Supercorp and using their resources, right? And here with Lois, it's like, oh well, they were busy. Jimmy got that edition of the Planet out, and it says Lex Luthor saves Metropolis on the cover, So I do like the idea too that part of being Superman is letting other people step up when they need to.
Yeah, although Superman does question, this Revenge Squad's been out there for a long time. Why did they choose now to actually finally move?
Yeah.
We see Lobo, which does not fill me with confidence. But really, the tease here is that it's something to do with Brainiac and what he's about to do. The Brainiac probably inspired them to act.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see where that goes. I do like Brainiac. I hope this Brainiac story's fun. It is Williamson, so I don't have reservations. I have reservations, let's just say, going into it. But hopefully it's more fun. Because I do think, again, it's almost like it's too comic booky for its own good, where if these were just like scientist rivals who are wanting revenge now and they felt a bit darker, I'd be more into that. Because it would be like there's consequences for some of the bad stuff that Lex has done in his past. And it could be more of a story about how Lex is trying to actually make up for the bad stuff he's done. But because they're so comic booky and because they're drawn like these scraggly enemies and they're like monologuing and all that, it feels too lighthearted to have any weight of like, oh, this is the dark things of Lex's past coming back to bite him.
Yeah, these guys made Superman time travel, right?
Oh, yeah, actually, on this. Oh, no, actually, on this. This is important. Superman straight up says that those kids in the Old West are young farming graft. What age are they? Explain to me, Matt. Are they 140 years old? Because it kind of feels like they are.
So if I know Williamson, like I think I know Williamson, where he builds stories on top of stories like John used to, because that's one of his mentors. It would not surprise me if we get some timey-wimey stuff with Brainiac, and Lex here. And that's why. So because of all this stuff getting started by Lex and whatever, we're going to get that Farm and Graft are those two little kids. And I don't know if it's going to be time portal type stuff where they came through or they're that old,
Yeah, if it's a time portal stuff, though, it had to happen before Lex came to Metropolis because they were already there working.
They're already there.
They'd already be ancient by that point. They'd already be like 100 years old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's going to be some more, because we only kind of got started with, what's her name? With Marilyn Moonlight.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure she'll be popping back in. I'm sure there'll be answers, but yeah.
I'm sure she will, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I'm sure it might involve Brainiac, because I feel like Lena having the Brainiac stuff still on her, right, on her forehead. I'm sure that's going to rear its head with Lex and his ties to Brainiac in the past and other stories. So, but yeah, Farm and Graft, kind of glad we're done with them for right now. Because I still don't know who's who. Right? I know one's a doctor and one's a mister, but I don't know who's who at this point. I don't know what makes them different. One has the kryptonite claw, but yeah, no, it's here's the biggest upset I have with this. Not that it's bad, is that it's fine. Like it's fine.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's not trash. It's not complete garbage by any means. It's just, like I say, there's some core concepts in here that I could see there've been really good dramatic stories to tell of, like, Lex actually trying to make amends for some of the bad shit he's done, and it having real consequences to give it some weight. And instead, all of it's just presented in this super light-hearted comic book way that just kind of robs it of any of its weight or stakes. It's a shame. But it's kind of par for the course with Williamson to a point now, to be honest. Because thinking back, even in his Flash run, like there was never anything that felt like really big stakes. You know, when I'm reading other books that are doing like a more dramatic story, you know, you feel the weight of it. You feel the weight of like Wonder Woman being hunted by like the government or something like that. And I'm not saying it has to feel that heavy, but it's something a bit more heavy than, oh, Lex going, did I ever monologue that much, Superman? Like, all right.
Well, and now we have Brainiac coming too, which is a massive threat. Every time, to DC's credit, every time Brainiac's been introduced, it's a big deal to the DC universe.
I mean, it's a big deal now that they're teasing it, but is it going to feel like a big deal as it should as the story's actually playing out?
That's what I mean. I've been conditioned to believe so, but at this point, anything's possible. So, and now we're getting the Zarnians, because then I remembered when Lobo popped up, I was like, oh yeah. One of the books that I read recently teased the Zarnians popping up from a lost city.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Which I'm not big on. No matter how many Lobo stories I read, I still can't, like, I just don't care about the character. You know? Yeah. So now you're adding 3 more of him and his kid. That's a little bit too much. For the last Zarnian, he's like the last on a Krypton. They keep coming up like bad pennies.
Yeah, this Superman run, I mean, it gives me something to complain about. I'll give it that.
Yeah, but at least it's not as bad as some other books that we're still reading to complain about. You know? I still don't get angry when I'm done with this.
It's better than Zdarsky's Batman. Is that what you want to hear, Matt? Yes, sure.
Maybe. I wanted to hear that. I'm not too sure, but
stop touching yourself, Matt.
No. Wait, I mean, I
wasn't. No, I will keep touching myself as much as I want.
Yes.
All right, what are you rating Superman?
I'm gonna give this a solid 7.
6 out of 10 for me.
There you go.
It's just it's over that midpoint, but it's just a bit too late for its own good.